your books, please. We'll be finishing up.
Make them pay for it. This is me. This is them.
The development chapter.
He felt so bad though.
Better felt bad.
Oh, God, they're merciless, man.
I hate merciless. I got an agreement.
Turn to 96.
Personality test.
Oh yeah, right.
Could you pull the back blinds open for me?
Pretty please. What page?
96.
96.
96.
Are you filming?
Did you want them open?
Yes, I am.
Very good. Yeah, could you pull it open on the left? Michael, will you pull the blind open on the left there? Thank you.
You know about
All right, this guy's name is Eric Erikson. He said, like Freud and Piaget and some others, he said that in life you develop through stages. And he's kind of famous for his stage theory of development. He says that you'll go through 8 stages. It's great multiple choice stuff by BTW. 8 stages in which you come to some challenge that you have to meet. And it happens at different times. For instance, from age 0 to 1, the challenge is called trust versus mistrust. The challenge of the infant trusting the caregiver. You have to develop, Erikson was saying that during that first year of life, you have to develop a trust with your caregiver. And if the caregiver does not meet your needs during that first year of life, you never develop that trust. That can have psychological impacts throughout your life. If you never trusted your caregiver, you may never be trustworthy of anyone, and you may have a problem trusting people later in life. See what I'm saying? So that's the first challenge according to Erikson, trust versus mistrust. From 1 to 2 years old, the challenge is autonomy versus shame and doubt. Do y'all know what the word autonomous means?
Like self.
Being alone? Yeah.
Self. Getting around. Autonomous is you can get around on your own. Being alone, getting around on your own. And so this is where you're learning to move and walk around. Learning to do stuff for yourself. So if you can learn to be independent, you've passed that challenge. And if you don't, if you feel ashamed or uncertain, then you might have problems later in life. So that's what happens during the toddler years, autonomy versus shame and doubt. Try and incorporate these into your mind because you will see them on the test. Preschool, age 3 to 5, you go through initiative versus guilt. The preschooler must learn to control their impulses without feeling guilty about his or her wishes and fantasies. So you're learning to control yourself. You can't always grab the toy. You have to be able to figure out when you can grab the toy. And you can't feel guilty about wanting the toy even though you can't have it. And Erikson said preschoolers are working on this challenge. Initiative versus guilt. In elementary school, it's competence versus inferiority. Competence, becoming competent at your subjects. Reading, writing, arithmetic. You're passing or failing. So if you're passing things and you're showing competency, you'll meet that challenge. If you're failing everything, then you're showing inferiority and you may not successfully get by that challenge. And again, it can have repercussions in later life. At your age, he said, you're going through identity versus role confusion. Teenagers are deciding who they are and what they are going to make of their lives. Identity crisis. Have you ever heard about an identity crisis? How many have heard of someone having an identity crisis? That's Erickson. Erickson came up with that term. And so if you're not sure what your identity is, who you are, what your life is about, what you're going to stand for, then you have what's called an identity crisis. At young adult, age 20 to 40, it's intimacy versus isolation. Are you going to find someone to love and live with and marry, that sort of thing, or are you going to be alone? Intimacy versus isolation. And then age 40 to 65, hey, that's my age. Middle adulthood. 64, if you're wondering. No, I'm not that old. Getting there. Must have a meaning to life. It's finding your meaning to life. Sometimes it's resolved through kids. Sometimes it's resolved through career. Are you going to do something with your life? That's generativity. Or are you going to do nothing with your life and be stagnant? Stagnant means a state of sameness. Finally, when you're older, ego integrity versus despair. Erickson said at this stage you must be able to look back over your life, and if you say, you know, I had a pretty good life, I did as well as I could, then you have ego integrity. If you look back at your life and you say, man, I made all the wrong choices, I shouldn't have done this and I shouldn't have done that, that's despair. So, that's Erickson's 8 stages. Isn't that interesting? So you got your stage theory, kind of like what Freud started, along those lines. The term social clock is a common term. It describes when transitions in life should take place. Your social clock, everybody has a social clock, and you have these transitions that come up when you transition from one thing to another, and you kind of have an idea of when those take place. You're about to undergo one of those transitions. You know what it is? A transition your life is about to go through? Graduating high school, going to college. That's a transition. And if you go through these transitions at normal times and at the normal pace, it helps to keep you it helps you psychologically. You don't run into psychological problems if those transitions occur at the normal pace and at the normal time. So you probably graduate high school next year, but if it doesn't happen, then, or the end of this year, if it doesn't happen, that's called a non-transition. Or if it happens at the wrong time, that can cause some difficulties. So some of the transitions you go through are, graduating lower school, graduating middle school, graduating high school. What's some other ones? Can you think? Other transitions you'll go through? Having children. Dying is, I guess, a transition. Anything between those? Getting married is a big transition. What else?
Getting a job.
Getting a job, that's good. Retiring, yes. Menopause for ladies. Parents dying. Graduating college. Nobody said that one. Getting a job. Did somebody say getting a job? Olivia said that. Good job, Olivia.
Thank you.
So the book discusses the social clock. Menopause, that's the one I said. Women have to go through that, and that's kind of a big deal. Guys don't really go through anything quite like that. Now, over your lifetime, there's 2 types of intelligence that you have. There's fluid intelligence and crystallized intelligence. Fluid intelligence is basically the ability to solve problems and use new information. That's one form of intelligence. It's the ability to take in information and work with it. And that seems to decrease with age. And you can compare different age groups. They're fluid. A lot of you have much greater fluid intelligence than me. That's the ability to take in information and solve problems and move things around in your head. A good measure of fluid intelligence is IQ. Have you ever heard of an IQ test? Taking an IQ test? That measures your fluid intelligence, your ability to take in information and move it around in your head and use it. Different than crystallized intelligence. Crystallized intelligence is skills and information that are acquired over a lifetime. I have more crystallized intelligence than all of you because I've lived longer.
Hi everyone, the varsity swim team is dismissed. Thank you.
Ah, here they go.
Good luck.
There you go,
Very
superstars.
nice. Hey, don't cramp. And don't
And
don't
David
eat
Bancroft.
or drink 30 minutes before going in the pool.
Hey, be safe. Don't drown.
Huh? Good luck. What movie?
Taken.
Does he say it in Taken 2? Has anyone seen it?
I
No,
have.
I don't think he says it.
Doesn't.
It was the evil villain that said good luck.
Mhm.
Anyway, why would he be evil villain?
He's
He
dead.
wouldn't be there. He's dead. Unless it goes back before that.
Alrighty.
Very nice.
Bye.
Swim fast. Die last. Like an alligator chasing. So the crystallized intelligence is the information that you've accumulated over a lifetime. I've accumulated more information than y'all because I've been around for longer than y'all. I know more songs, I know more names, I know more, just stuff. But you'll have that much information eventually, so your crystallized intelligence continues to increase over the span of your lifetime. Your fluid intelligence reaches a high point probably somewhere around y'all's age, maybe anywhere from 20, 30, 35, and then the nervous system starts to decline with age. And older people just are not as quick at taking in information and working with it, and they tend to perform poorer on fluid intelligence tests. Although some people have less decline than others, and probably a lot has to do with keeping your mind active and that sort of thing.
If you like solve some Sudokus every day.
That's right, that helps. Helps a lot. Reading, working on puzzles, keeping your mind active. People who do that lose a lot less fluid intelligence over the time. Here's some graphs of what will happen to your various abilities over time. Your inductive reasoning, that's like problem solving. That you can see that goes down with age. Here's age on the bottom, 25 to 81. It's always highest at about age 20, 25, which is when a lot of the greats did their best work. Like Newton and Einstein. All their best work was usually at a young age. Spatial orientation, that means figuring out problems that have to do with moving boxes around. We'll take an IQ test in here and you'll see how they have problems with moving things around. Figuring out where you are, reading maps and stuff like that, that's spatial orientation. Perceptual speed, that's just how fast you can do things. Have you ever seen the test? I had a student do this one year. They went and they'd hold this up. Here, come on, let's do this test. Okay? I want you to put your fingers right there, and as soon as I drop it, you grab it. You ready?
Oh my God!
Let's try it again. You ready?
Over
0 for 2. Let's try it. Okay, you ready? There you go. And you measure where he caught it, you see. And your perceptual, that has to, as a measure of perceptual speed. And then you do that with many different age people, you see. You take your granddad and have him do that. And pretty much the whole thing goes by before he can grab it because his perceptual speed is slower. So that's an easy way to get numbers and graph, and you end up with a graph that looks kind of like that. Numeric ability, you can see your math ability might go down a little bit over time, but not too bad. Your verbal ability, how many words you know, actually goes up because that has to do with crystallized intelligence, learning new vocabulary and such. And so the more life you spend, the more you read, you'll learn more words. Verbal memory, though, does go down. It's hard to remember things people have told you. Or, you say, hey, did I ever tell you about this? And when you're older, you're like, I can't remember if you told me that or not. That just kind of goes down with time. So, interesting things about getting older there. Read all the way through page 103. And we're done with this chapter. Could be a quiz on Monday over that last reading section. And we will try to finish up the developmental psychology videos